So let's get started with covering Remix API lights. First, I want to cover converting source engine lights into Remix API lights. This is mostly useful for HDR only maps such as CSGO, Portal 2, Stanley Parable, workshop maps. One, for example, is Atmospheric House. When you load into this map, it's basically going to be pitch black because map full bright is forced on, and the engine, or not engine, Remix cannot see any lights to spawn. So the only thing that's lighting up the map is some light leaks, because, you know, it's like 64, it always leaks. But if I open the console and type in light to RTX process, you will see it is reading all the lights that are packed into the actual map data. So when I unpause the game, it's going to start spawning in lights. As you can see, it's fully lit as if, you know, everything was working properly within the engine. But the benefit of Remix API lights is that, you know, the engine's not aware of them, right? So if I go ahead and go to game setup, ignore all these lights, they're still going to be there. They don't cull. The only thing that the game engine controls with these lights is the position, what values they spawn with. So pretty much it removes the need for any light updaters. It's performant. I can even go to a map with something with like 600 lights. One that I think I know that has that many is GM Sentimental right here. Now this map actually works perfectly fine with RTX Remix because it's SDR compiled, but the amount of light updaters that have to be spawned for this map actually adds some engine bottlenecks. And you'll even see with my hardware, I'm actually already engine bottlenecked. I'm only getting 30 frames, and this is just because we have expensive Lua add-ons to, you know, make the game not cull geometry, model, stuff like that. But what I want to demonstrate is if I go back to game setup, ignore all these lights, it's now entirely lit by the skybox. But if I start processing map lights, you will see it has found 648 lights. Now that's quite a lot. And if you try to render these all at once in source, it would either be very buggy, it would try to cull lights towards you, stuff like that. But with Remix API lights, it really doesn't care. It's just gonna go ahead and spawn all of them. Now, it does take a bit. I have to stagger light creation to make sure I'm not running into any race conditions. So for really large maps, this takes a while, and this might be improved for right now. But you'll see, if I start turning on debug visualization, there's a bunch of lights being spawned. All over there, and there's buildings, stuff like that, and stuff inside that Wendy's. If I unpause, it should be done. Yeah, 648, that's where it sits. Now, for right now, it's just sphere lights, or point lights, if you'd like to call them. And that is just because I haven't implemented the rest of the Remix API light type. So I've also ignored handling any source engine lights that are spotlights or environment, which is why there is no sun. Those might be addressed later, but this is mostly just a proof of concept. Door's locked. But if you go into another building such as this entire map is fully lit with Remix API lights. So let's start with a different map. Ones that we've been trying to run for a while are CSGO maps, and for a long time that would have even just crashed the game if you try to load into them, but now recently you can actually get into them. But they have the same issue, you can't actually really see anything unless it's lit by the skybox. One, for example, is CS Agency. I believe this even just has a broken skybox, so it's pretty much pitch black. Let me see. Yep, can't see anything. But I think I can spawn an HDRI to get that in a better position. Let me go find where the start of the map is. There's a helipad somewhere. Yeah, right here. So I want to move this right there. Yeah. But if I go inside, the only thing that's going to be lit is some fake emissives from textures and the light from the HDRI. This map is very dark. But if I do the same thing, light to RTX process, you will see this might take a second. There's, well, I wish I knew what the light count was, but the light art updater has taken over. Let's see, there is 153. So if I start moving around, you can see the map's fully lit up. Now, I don't think this is exactly matched to CSGO, especially with the HDRI lighting, but this makes the map pretty much playable immediately, which is really a huge thing. We don't have to worry about finding a way to spawn source engine lights in these maps, which would be an adventure in itself. So, really cool to see this just pretty much working. Yeah, we can even mess with the HDRI editor here a little bit, move the sun somewhere else, maybe to the side. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. So the next thing that I want to cover is just the tools themselves. So let's hop back into atmospheric house without spawning any uh, map lights. So it's going to be pitch black, but we want it to be that way. Well, if you go into the tool menu, you will see under the lighting tab, there's something called the RTX light or Remix API light. And it's pretty much the same thing as the map lights. You spawn something with the tool gun, light shows up. And you can do as many of these as you want. It's not going to care. Same thing. The only thing that the engine is aware of is how many there are, what ID, where they're spawned at, and you can even move them around. So they update in real time. This can get buggy. This is where race conditions can show up. I've limited the update rate to about 60 frames, and even then, sometimes it'll freak out. But right now, it's pretty stable. But you can right-click these lights. There is no model right now, so you kind of have to figure out where they are. But I can adjust the size, the brightness, the colors. It all updates in real time as quick as it can. I can spawn that there. I can even manually light up this map if I wanted to, so I can put a light there, put a light there, put one there. You get the gist. It just pretty much works like the normal Gmod light tool. So you want to make that one orange. Look right, that looks pretty chill, right? Let me light this up so I can actually see what I'm doing here. Yeah, pretty much this is just an alternative to the actual Gmod light tool, and I think even these still work, even with the lighting ignored. So yeah, if you spawn a light, these still work, but the problem with these are they're not physically based. So you can see lights are pretty not lights, shadows are pretty sharp even when they're at a specific size. Where Remix API lights or just Remix lights in general have, I forgot the actual specific name, but they have physical values, which means they're far more accurate to the real world. So these look, in my opinion, the Remix API lights look far more natural. Oh, look, my flashlight works. That's cool. That is not an API light. That is a source engine light. I'm surprised this worked. But yeah, you could pretty much light this entire environment however you'd like. I will be adding, or else be trying to add, other light types. You can see I even have a physical entity, which is quite literally the same thing what you spawn with the tool gun. You can just spawn it. You right-click that. You can change your values, things like that. You can drop it, grab the gravity gun, pluck it down the stairs if you want. Yeah, you can pretty much do anything, just like original Garry's mod lights. Sky's the limit. For right now, everything just works. There is some issues with some users actually being able to run the binary module with Remix API lights. So these are actually quite unstable for a lot of people, and I have no idea why. It's something I try to look through a debugger, and I mean, if it crashes for me, it's not where it's crashing for other people. I've scrapped these a long time ago thinking that there's something wrong with my code, but there's something off with the binary module itself, because, yeah, they work great again.